Hello, everybody, all my loyal fans from episode 1. This is episode 2. Welcome back. I'm very excited to be back. I hope you're excited to be back too. Previously on BretFlix, we covered a wide variety of movies, and they were all pretty silly or pretty serious, and it was a great experience. And so I'm excited to be here again for BretFlix episode 2. I am your host, Mr. BretFlix. That is my name, is BretFlix. Anyway, so we started off with our Albert Brooks-a-thon last time, and of course that's what we're doing this time. I'm going to start off with Albert Brooks' second film, Modern Romance. Now, before, if you remember, if you've seen the first episode, I wasn't all too satisfied with his first film, Real Life, though I was praising Albert Brooks, like, oh, the man's a genius. This is where I feel his genius has really started to kick in as a filmmaker. I mean, he was already a proven genius. Like, I mean, his comedy that he was doing on The Tonight Show and stuff, and his writings and stuff were already great. But as a director, though, this is when he really started to shine. Modern Romance is it is a comedy. It is a comedy, but it's also a very serious look at a toxic relationship. The movie starts with Albert Brooks breaking up with his girlfriend, and they establish that this isn't the first time they've broken up. In fact, they've probably broken up several times. And the whole movie is you watch them break up, you watch them get back together, you watch the whole arc of their relationship, and they break up again. That's the whole movie, and it's a vicious circle. It's a very honest look at relationships. It shows both of their flaws, how both of them could do better. They definitely should not be together, yet they keep coming back together and they stay together. And it can be a little frustrating watching this movie because you can relate, because I'm sure we all know somebody or have known somebody or have been somebody who just can't get out of a relationship they obviously should not be in. I like to think a good companion to this movie would be Woody Allen's Annie Hall. Annie Hall goes for much more laughs, but Annie Hall is also a serious look at a relationship, and they are, both films are technically romantic comedies, yet I would kind of categorize them more in the drama category and less of the comedy category, even though both men, Brooks and Allen, are great comedians. I really loved this movie. Quick little side note, and I guess I gotta give a shout out to my buddy Dana for telling me this. Modern Romance was one of Stanley Kubrick's favorite films, so if anyone's familiar with Stanley Kubrick, you know that that's kind of a big deal. So Modern Romance, it's a great film, and it was the start of a brilliant career by a brilliant Albert Brooks. So I highly recommend Modern Romance. So that was the second film of Albert Brooks' career. At this point in his career, he's already a very interesting figure, I think, in filmmaking, because obviously he's not out to make movies that are stuff you see a lot. He's making an effort to be an original, and he already has like an original voice, because even though I have my harsh criticisms of Real Life, it's still a movie unlike any other movie I've ever seen, so I give him a lot of credit for that. And this movie, even though I compared it to Annie Hall, is still a very unique movie, and you don't see a lot of movies like this. You don't see a lot of movies like this from major comedians and stuff. Like, he has a lot of serious stuff to say. He's not just he's not using his job as a filmmaker just to make money and make some big comedy that you'll laugh at and forget about. Like, he wants to make a serious movie. So that is kind of that for Modern Romance. Now, the second movie I'm going to talk about on BretFlix is Warren Beatty's best film, silliest film, Bulworth. Now, Bulworth is, I'm going to say this right now, one of the funniest movies I have ever seen. Probably in the top, it's probably my top 3 favorite comedies of all time. Bulworth is freaking hilarious. Quickly what it's about, Warren Beatty plays a politician named Bulworth, and he basically has a mental breakdown. He completely loses his mind, and that causes him to tell the truth. You know, essentially, that's kind of what it's about. I mean, there's a lot more to the movie, obviously, but you know, I want you to watch it and see for yourself. And I find that very funny that a politician has to be completely crazy to tell the truth, but that's what he does in this movie. If you've ever heard of a politician say, you know, make a joke like, "Oh, I'm going to go Bulworth," that's what they're referring to. They're referring to this film. And like I said, this movie is absolutely hilarious. Warren Beatty goes on this trip throughout a night in this movie and gets himself into all kinds of weird situations. He kind of discovers the hip-hop underground and adopts that style and that culture for a short period of time in this movie. And this movie features a rapping Warren Beatty. Now, if you have seen classic films with him in it, you know, like something like Reds or Dick Tracy, like, you know, I mean, he's an actor, you know, along the lines of someone like Jack Nicholson or Clint Eastwood, something like that. He's that well respected, and just to see him in a hip hop getup, rapping, is pretty surreal, but it's really hilarious. This is a very political movie. I think it's kind of appropriate to talk about it right now because the election's coming up. You know, people. This is a very controversial election. You know, Trump, Hillary. You know, everyone seems to hate both of them, and you know, I think people want a candidate that is kind of along the lines of Bulworth, someone who's just very blunt and honest and wants to do something great. Now, this is all, even though this movie is really funny, there's a lot of anger hidden under the comedy. You know, Warren Beatty isn't just simply satirizing politics and politicians and stuff. He's actually saying something really serious. He has a point of view with this movie. He has something he's wanting to say, and you can tell he's very passionate about it. So Bulworth, I think, is one of the great films of all time. It's one of my favorite comedies. And it's also pretty serious at the same time, so check that one out. Okay, what was the other movie I was going to talk about? Oh yeah, Big Trouble in Little China. Okay, this should be quick. Alrighty, final review of the episode. I'm going to talk about Big Trouble in Little China. Who doesn't love this movie? This movie is amazing. This is simply put, one of the most entertaining and straight up fun movies and silliest movies ever made, and it is amazing. I mean, from start to finish. I mean, the movie just kicks off and it moves really quick, and it's hilarious. It's so much fun. You know, and there's a lot of great special effects in the movie, and it has this really twisted, zany plot to it that's just kind of out of nowhere. It's great fun. You know, I love John Carpenter. I'm a big fan of John Carpenter movies. In episode 1, I was actually wearing a shirt. It, you know, said "They live, we sleep" on it, which was a reference to John Carpenter. And this is one of my favorite John Carpenter movies. You know, in the 80s, the man was a juggernaut. The man couldn't go wrong. You know, in the 80s he made The Thing and Christine and Escape from New York and Prince of Darkness and Big Trouble in Little China. Like, every movie he made was great, and you know, every movie he made was just incredibly entertaining. And this is one of his most fun movies. It's one of the best movies that Kurt Russell's been a part of. I kind of want to refrain from saying too much about it, because going into it, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have already seen it. It is kind of a cult classic, but if you haven't seen it, if you go into it not knowing a bunch, the surprises will be a lot bigger, you know, and then the plot and the levels the movie goes to will be a lot more insane. Yeah, so Big Trouble in Little China. This is a classic. It's the kind of movie you can throw on at any time, no matter what mood you're in. You know, whether you want to sit down and watch something, or if you want to just kind of kill time, watch something to go to sleep to, watch something to make you laugh or whatever. You know, just a big mark of all John Carpenter's movies is you know, how well made they are, even though they're all pretty silly in concept. He fully commits to them and fully realizes them on the screen and makes them awesome. So yeah, Big Trouble in Little China. That's kind of what I'm leaving you guys with, is that one. I wanted to pick a movie. I wanted this episode to feature movies that are a bit more light than episode 1, kind of to really contrast. So yeah, that's it for episode 2 of BretFlix, episode 2, The Quickening. That's what I'm going to call this one. Not a whole lot to say for an outro, because I said, you know, I'm going to say it probably too many times, I imagine, on this show. I had a great time. This is fun, and I love you guys. I appreciate any support you can give me. You know, like, share, comment on the videos, do whatever you can do to support me, because, you know, without you guys, I'm nothing. So stick around. Episode 3 hopefully will be up in a few days, and give you some other recommendations of movies you can see. So I'm BretFlix. BretFlix is my show. Good night.